Hello, everybody. I am John O'Loughlin, and here it is Thursday night, the 15th of December, 2022. Well, for the first time, I'm having my Friday live chat on a Thursday, and that's because I've rearranged the schedule so we can do a show with Alana Freeland tomorrow night at 8 p.m., and that'll be really, really interesting to me. It's been about 2 years since I had the chance to interview her. She has very kindly agreed to come back and bring me up to date as her research continues. Well, hello everyone, and this is your evening to participate if you wish to. If not, just hope you enjoy whatever is on our collective minds tonight. Hello, Corky, and hello, Laura and Christy, and everyone else. I see 15 people on YouTube McDuff Lives 3 channel, and I don't have a count on Facebook. Hello to everyone on Facebook, and you guys watching from the Twitter feed. Hello to you. Um, well, I'm surprised how complicated it is to start a new website today. It's not that I can't just throw one up there. I can, but to put in the actual uh, code where you can embed uh, the video that I have now from StreamYard. Uh, it's been a little bit tricky so far, and so probably be a week or more before we can launch the McDuffLives.com site, because the purpose of this is to have a home where you can see McDuff Lives shows live without having to go through one of the major providers. And that has been my goal for a long time. We have 3 channels now on YouTube. I'm only using 2 of them now because I'm afraid of losing the other one if I get another strike. And that's life here on YouTube, which I'm not unhappy with YouTube, except for their stance on certain free speech issues that I disagree with. Well, as they say, it's their platform. I don't own it. So I try to comply. I really do. I'm not somebody that's here to poke anybody. I just sometimes I think it's important to say something, and they'd rather that I hadn't said it. So not demonetized. Yeah. So Corky, yeah. Oh, it is difficult. I thought WordPress was going to be, easy to understand. It's such a major program everywhere, but it's not. It's a challenge, and I don't have that kind of brain. I have uh, we are still we're going to bring somebody else in to help with that type of production, and we got somebody in mind, and so it's going to be a little bit of time. Meanwhile, screamingospreys.com is the place to find our calendar that is kept up by Jumping Mouse. You can also see our old show archive. There's a kind of a TV screen thing there, which you can actually engage with, change the channels on. There's, I think, 10 different channels that I have programs from great people like Mark Kulak, from Garland Nixon. A number of my Schiller Institute people are on there. There's a number of shows with Andy DeBala and myself reading. Well, I know that uh, Rulers of Evil, the Tupper Saucy book, is there, and just a number of my shows that are still there. There's probably 50 or 60 shows that you can see on that little TV screen that pops up as you open the channel. Now, the screamingospreys.com does not have a security certificate, and I think it's because in order to get a security certificate with the video that's going on, you have to upgrade your connection and I don't know. It just starts to get expensive and difficult, and so that's when you hire somebody, and hopefully I'll be able to do that and move forward as I'd like to present a one-stop McDuff home, and where you can find not only the live shows but the archives. Well, our archives are on McDuff Uncensored at BitChute, and they do a very good job of keeping everything in chronological order. They're easy to watch. A number of people are watching them. They're getting a few hundred hits each sometimes, and I'm quite satisfied with it. They actually automatically upload from YouTube for me, thanks to Catherine setting that up, and so it's really it's not anything difficult for me, and they don't censor like YouTube does. So all of my censored stuff is on McDuff Uncensored on BitChute, and that is where you find me, screamingospreys.com, and there's the calendar. Twitter is where you see my wisecracks and observations on the absurdity of our crazy world. And also, I announce my shows there. I usually get an announcement up an hour before, and sometimes it's a half hour before, and sometimes it's 10 minutes before. But I do get it up on Twitter before the show. And so if you follow me on Twitter, you'll always get an announcement. And also just hit uh, that bell if you're on YouTube, and subscribe to my channels, and then you'll get an announcement. Quirky is an analog in the virtual cosmos. I love that. That's the only way to be, in my opinion. uh-huh. Let's see. So much time, so much to learn, fixing the world that doesn't need any fixing. Onward and best to John and David tonight. Yeah. Well, thanks. And that was a great show with David last night, if I do say so. Really gets me thinking. And one of the themes that I was thinking about last night with David is, as I say, it's been in my kind of slow burner, back burner mode for a few years now, and that is to try to trace the connection between uh, the Jacobites, the losers of the 1745 rebellion in Scotland, uh, in which the Hanovers won, and that's the King George the Second, and then George the Third. These guys are the House of Hanover, the Germans, and the Jacobites. They really believed, in their king James the Second, and then after James the Second dies, they have their uh, the old pretender, and then the young pretender, who is Bonnie Prince Charlie, and these guys are very deeply involved in Freemasonry. And this story is one that I'm really looking into, because what we learn is that the Freemasonry was divided, and the Hanoverians, had a different collection of lodges, and when the ones that went along with the succession, the Williamite succession, they were the Hanoverian lodges, and then there was the Scottish lodges that were more likely to be still supporting the Jacobites, and although they lost the battle, they still had their strong beliefs, and that the real Charles III was going to be Bonnie Prince Charlie, and he was referred to under the protection of the Pope, in Italy, in Florence, and elsewhere, where the Catholic Church was part of the regime. You know, until a certain time, they were still referring to him as the legitimate king of England, of Great Britain. So I think it's kind of interesting that the present uh, occupant of the throne in Great Britain, who was a Prince Charles, like, he could have chosen any name. You know, seldom did a British king use the same name as king as his Christian name, which is what Charles did. And is that again an extension of this interesting division that we see? I keep looking for the fault lines, right? Where's where's the division between, the the, the southern jurisdiction of the Freemasonry, the Albert Pike jurisdiction, and the older York uh, jurisdictions of England? But it's very difficult to sort through all that stuff, and I I find most people, it really does tend to glaze over. But the power of Freemasonry in the British government and in American governments uh, is is completely underestimated, in my opinion. And just think of the fact that Albert Pike's statue was, until very recently, in a very revered and important place down on near the mall in Washington, D.C. A larger than life statue of long haired Albert Pike. And, again, in the same city that where the Masonic Temple, the Southern Rite headquarters is, up on 17th Street. The power of Freemasonry in government is something that really, I think, may open some more connections as we keep our open minds looking for the truth. All right, what you guys got on your minds? Corky, you're not clueless. Come on, man. But I think analog is the way I am too. Mobster, your family organized Culloden. Well, I'm not sure whether that's good or bad. Which side were they on, Mobster? I need to know. Oh, God, what a massacre it was. Yeah, I've played a tune that supposedly was composed for that or at that event, a pipe tune called "Cold Frosty Morning." I suppose it's the morning of the battle. Oh yeah, the Masons in law enforcement. That's another awesome connection that needs more more investigation. I, hat tip to George Webb, who uh, did a lot, and the connection to Jenny Moore and all of that, uh, that terrible terrible story of her efforts to reveal the truth and her demise. It's uh, it's very related to these Masonic ideas and as above, so below, and the 333. It's no, it's nasty stuff. But man, you see the tattoos on the guy's arms. Say, oh well, and then incidents happen and things happen and people disappear and it's the dark side of what goes on in an empire, in an imperial culture. This is where I think people might latch on to this, that what you see is the control of the common people, the control of the center by a combination of the righteous elite that have the money and the power and the status and the influence, but also the criminal, murder for hire, you know, do anything bad side. And it seems to me a fair inference from what I've learned over the years of studying that one cannot exist without the other. Because if you don't have a criminal element, then the inherent goodness of people or the goodness that comes from religion or the just a general acceptance of the golden rule, which I think is the ideal society, a general acceptance of treat each other as we would like to be treated. And, that implies a certain amount of respect. But that is what gets. I've been using the word dystopia a lot lately, and I see it in video programs. Like we watch a lot of European uh, crime dramas and detective shows and things. We enjoy it just to kind of work on our language skills and there's so much violence that used to be was left to the imagination, but now they just the blood just pours out and they show it again and again. And that plus a lot of the stories involve broken marriages and betrayal, and it, it's a very dystopian world that they portray. At the same time, it's something interesting, sexy maybe, but you know it occupies your mind for the hour or 90 minutes that it's on. And the photography is everything great. The acting is good, and the writing is good. I mean, the characters are very interesting and idiosyncratic and funny, and we do enjoy them. But there's that dark side, and that's where the whole, to me, the whole esoteric side of the imperial world is. Where they go into the tomb at Skull and Bones and burn some incense and, you know, lie in the coffin and do something. I don't know. But they have these ways of finding what they're going to do, or maybe justifying what they've decided to do already by making some mathematical coincidence that must be, in the eternal order of things. You know, I I'm just speculating, but I personally am very interested in how consistent, as you look through the history that I, can, if you even just want to start with Rome, that there's always these assassins that somehow, have license to do, and they have a lifestyle that indicates that they have accepted, the idea of a kind of a pagan belief system in which, yeah, this is it, life is it, so enjoy it, do what you want. And that's another part of the message that we keep getting is, do what you want, get, you know express yourself, you know buy the camera. Well, I did buy the camera, and I'm glad I did. This is a Canon M50 that I broadcast with, and I've had it for about 3 years now, and it's just been terrific. It's knock on wood, has not had any problems whatsoever, and that's for almost daily broadcasts. And I get a ton of compliments on it, and so anyway, that's where I spent the money that I got when I got started and was monetized, and and bought some nice lighting too. So anyway, I'm very comfortable here in the studio. Well, let's see what else you guys talking about. Oh, I don't know this movie, but I know the idea of, yeah, you're not gonna be allowed on the ark. Is it gonna be fire or ice? Or is it gonna be another flood? Huh. I'm not quite sure what you're saying there, but yeah, it's just not something I followed. Hello, hello back. Neutral observation. I like that idea. Neutral observation. How about neutral reporting? How about neutral what's really going on in the world reporting? Noah's generations were still intact, not mixed bloodlines with the Nephilim and the giants. That's an interesting concept there, Jennifer Miller. Thanks for that. What do you guys think about the Nephilim, or the idea of uh, pre-existing? I don't know if they're alien or maybe just a different race of somewhat humanoid types that perhaps were a whole lot bigger than us, or and the whole idea of, as Corky always wants to talk about, the chimeras, the mixed of species, and how that just became a very 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 controversial thing when that happened, supposedly, and many thousands of years ago. But that's an idea that makes a little sense to me, that Noah would have said, we've got to get rid of these Nephilims, and And I think, if there were such creatures, that the idea that everyone was exterminated is wrong, and that they must have just gone underground. And you hear about, the Jules Verne stories and everything about the underground. And it's not just Jules Verne. I always think of the Coleridge poem about Xanadu, and Xanadu, where Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decreed, where Alf the sacred river ran through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. I think people have been dreaming about underground civilizations and passages and caverns a long time, and I wonder if there might still be somebody down there. You've probably run into the what do they call it, Astana, uh, where there's this civilization that you can they can get access through the North Pole and the South Pole, and it's kind of like this inverse uh, land that faces down towards the glowing core of the Earth, which is somewhat like a sun. And and there's civilizations down there that are old, and then they have technology that we don't have, and that's all connected, of course, to the famous Foo Fighters of World War II, and Operation High Jump, where the Masonic Admiral Byrd goes down there with his, thousands of troops and all of these ships, and they run into the Foo Fighters. What this is the idea is that plasma, okay, in the sky comes and bumps into the planes, or they interferes with the radio communications, and these things that the pilots started calling them Foo Fighters. And so this is another instance where I always want to point out how in popular culture they will pick some other name, some other use for a name that they don't want you to look into the background of, and that's Foo Fighters. And so now, whenever anybody looks for Foo Fighters, they're going to come up with this, with the band, the musical band. I, you know, to me, there's enough instances of things like that where I say, yeah, there's the Five Eyes, the CIA, the people in charge. They tapped on the band. They said, your name is going to be this, and and we'll make you famous. And and so they get famous, and it serves, the band's happy, they're famous. The spooks are happy because you've covered up, the source of some interesting information, and that is the real Foo Fighter reports from the real fighter pilots of the American Army and Air Force. Um, and Admiral Byrd's story is so amazing. If you read the story that he supposedly gave an interview in Chile, which has been translated into English, and it's just all about going down into the Agartha, that's what it's called, and and meeting with this, like, the master, as if it was really sounded Masonic, like he went to see the great master of Freemasonry who lives in the South Pole. And, oh, Masonry. Yeah, does anybody really? uh, I mean, it is so obviously a sexist organization. It's just like, yeah, I mean, sure, they have women's chapters and all, but I mean, come on. Hasn't feminism, for some reason, why hasn't feminism taken on, the fact that there's real power there, and they're excluded from this? I don't know. Okay, more Nephilim from Jennifer Miller. It's speculated that the Nephilim bloodlines escaped some with the Phoenician boat people. and migrated northward into the Stan countries in Eastern Europe. I think it's plausible. Do you think this ties in with the great collapse? Because this is where I do find something quite believable in the Bronze Age collapse. And when was that? A couple of thousand years in BC. Somebody probably can find the date of it, but uh, where all of these cities and civilizations just collapsed, and the sea people, these people that were called the sea people, and I trust these. That means that they were, in ships, and the technology back then, who knows, but probably not too advanced beyond uh, rowing and sailing, but they were apparently kind of Viking-like people, and so it's attributed to the crash of the Bronze Age collapse is generally attributed to these people that were called the Sea People, but that is a long, long time ago, and I wonder if there's a connection there to this idea of the Phoenician boat people that you mentioned. Oh, are they bad? I never listen. I remember the name coming along, but I never. That's long after I was paying attention to that genre of music. Tom probably knew UFOs and stayed mum. You mean my dad? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's really UFOs, Corky. Uh, I just don't know. Could be either way. But it's something as weird as that. I think I'd need a little bit of proof that maybe, maybe there's stuff I haven't read yet. I was into the Nazi. Oh, I was really into the Nazi flying saucer thing. Uh, and I don't know if you've ever jumped down that rabbit hole, but there's beautiful paintings of these spaceships, and you get the whole theory. One of them is actually this is interesting connection to the sea people were called something like the Haunebu, and the Haunebu is the name of the uh, of the Nazi spaceships. It was Haunebu 1 and Haunebu 2, and this is supposedly a tribute to the Ahnenerbe, the ancient roots of the Germanic people, the Ahnenerbe, which was a study, commissioned by Himmler to create or to revive a sense of national, Aryan pride. So he created this big organization that studied, what they call the Ahnenerbe, and this uh, connects to the word Haunebu, and that is what they call their little spaceships. Whether that's disinfo or whether that was real, I don't know. Um, but along with the Admiral Byrd story and the Operation High Jump, I've sometimes I think that they just really are really, really good at making things up. But, I don't know. Oh, the Orkneys. Some good fiddle playing in the Orkneys. A lot of the islands that have retained their traditions playing the fiddle, and I had the pleasure of meeting and playing with some of them, and it's a whole different, all the different traditional musics have their own feel to them, and even within something like, well, Scotland, there's different sorts of Scottish traditional music all over the place, and the ones that are in the islands kind of were isolated and developed in their own ways. Um, so Shetland, but then also Orkney, and uh, it's just another one of my passions is traditional fiddle playing. Hello, Brightmore. Well, I'm going to go along as fast as I can, trying to catch on to the idea of fusion power. Okay, Lawrence Livermore Lab breakthrough in net energy gain for fusion power. Believe common implementation of fusion energy is still decades away. But it isn't kind of the argument really that the powers that be are invested in the nuclear power system that exists right now, and this whole idea of the nuclear bank in Kazakhstan that's being, financed by Warren Buffett, and the, my whole sense of things is that they have really bet the bank on being able to control the energy of the world through their own private nuclear power plants that would be underground or dispersed all through the world in small uh, reactors that are very high tech. Uh, you don't notice them. Maybe maybe there's some leak here and there of radiation. Who knows? And that's all. You know what I call the Homer Simpson problem. Do you really trust them at all? But I think they're very good at making nuclear reactors. They've been putting them on submarines for a long time, and who knows how much effort they put into making nuclear engines in space. That was the, the pitch that was made in the Werner von Braun Walt Disney movies that you can watch from the 50s. But now we're not looking at nuclear power as a way to get around, at least that we know of, just as a way to power our energy needs. And that's where I think they're invested, and that's why they wouldn't want to have a competing nuclear energy that would be even more efficient. You know, I mean, if they wanted efficiency, they'd have built it themselves. uh, and that's like the many different ways that people have modified cars to drive, on different things, even water, or you know. But those projects don't seem to last long. Well, anyway, that's my comment. Oh wow, I never heard that's that seems a little far-fetched to me. That I guess people in the ancient times, and even now, but even how much worse was it when the only news you had was from the pub, or people might hear something from uh, the stagecoach driver as he stops or picks up you pick up a newspaper from a city that was written a week ago. Where do you get your information? You know, our problem now is, we can get information. It's just that they push wrong information at us so much that we never know what to believe. So centuries claim, yeah, I mean, that makes sense that they would claim that, but I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna buy that one there, Whitey. Interesting though. Mayo Clinic DNA test. Oh, well, anything's possible. I know a lot of people are talking about fusion energy, and so Corky, when you're ready, we'll get you back, and you can start explaining it to me. Oh, by the way, I thought you'd be interested in knowing uh, today, drummer um, attended a kind of a small retirement ceremony with a community of people that she's worked with over the past 20 years. And it was really, really nice. It was held at the, the brand new facility that she worked on, and they successfully brought it here to Charles County, and it's the uh, Bomb Disposal Professional Association. It's a association of both military and law enforcement bomb technicians and disposal experts that is national in scope, and it's uh, it's it's here in Indian Head, Maryland, where the Naval Proving Grounds has been one of the most important powder factories. Going back into the 1900, 18 late 1800s, where they made the powder for the naval guns. So this connection to explosives and things like that is very strong here in Charles County, where Marcia's just concluding her career, and so they gave her some nice plaques and some nice tributes, and very, very, very nice. But and I thought in another way that it's so amazing because my dad, as those of you who know his story will remember, uh, when he graduated from midshipman school at Columbia, uh, he enrolled in uh, a specialty training, and the one that he chose was bomb disposal. And so, uh, he went through that 1943 class of U.S. Naval Bomb Disposal School in Washington, D.C. And I thought I'd show you the certificate here. That let's see, get it in focus for you. There you go. Um, let's see. And anyway, I uh, met the gentleman that's the president of that association. I'm going to send him a copy of this and tell him about the story, of course, of the kamikaze hitting the Nashville, and uh, you know, as you know, it's a pretty amazing story that uh, uh, I've just had the amazing privilege of uncovering so much of my dad's story that is intimately part of our history. We will compare notes on alchemy and cold fusion. Cool. Well, alchemy is so important to these esoteric ideas, you know, just, to me, it's like, what's wrong with God and, you know, having a personal relationship with God and having the will to do the right thing and to kind of a goodwill, a sense of wanting to help others and to help, avoid bad things and enhance good things and help people to grow and comfort them and all of the things that we think of as just being a good people. Um, I think having the sense that there is a good God that will help you and help us, but we can be pig-headed and say, no, I don't want to know that. I don't want to do that, or I don't believe that, and that's all I've got to say. Um, but even if you just can't even conceptualize that idea, there's still a sense of ethics that I think is very profound in people. Even that most people that will tell you that they're atheist or whatever will also have a very strong sense of ethics, and that's where I think it all really it all can be solved. If we can just reveal, pull back the layers of the deceit and the secret societies that everyone it's there. It's like the mafia, it's there, but it's there because without it, the common people would see through the manipulation and the exploitation and the outright theft of their stuff and their children, you know. And I'm talking about cannon fodder. Look at what's happening to these young people in Ukraine. The exploitation of everything and everybody would be revealed, but for the fact that, people that whistleblowers are suppressed. You know, you don't want to end up like Julian Assange in a solitary confinement in Belmarsh prison. And it has a terrific chilling effect, and then people disappear. People have terrible car accidents. People have overdoses. And how do you explain that except for the imperial power, which is so powerful that it could extinguish all of that violent secret society gang stuff if it chose to, allows it to exist. Because, bottom line, it keeps the people in line. And that's the magic. So you accept the the narrative. Yeah, Putin's bad. Oh yeah, I know Putin. He's bad. I know that. Did you know that? Oh, yeah, I knew it too. How'd you know? Everybody knows. Yeah. Well, I saw a report on it. It's bad. China bad too. Oh, China. Yeah, bad. So, with all that media control and the narrative and then the fear tactics and the emotional bludgeoning that we get through the repeated shocks that they just keep feeding at us. They bamboozle us. They put us into a state where we really don't think we have a chance of figuring out what's going on, and that's when they win. I need to know the connection between DuPont and the Indian Head Powder Factory. That's a great question. I don't know. I never thought of that. And there's, DuPont in Delaware, and here we are. They must be connected. Well, I certainly agree with that. Finding joy is the best revenge, and just uh, being able to walk away. Uh, oh yeah, just being able to walk away. I like because eventually they have to make a deal with you. Eventually they have to, work something out. And as long as you can maintain your attitude, you can handle a lot of the stress that they put on you to try to get you to conform, do as they think you should go. But we have to maintain our mental freedom and use our reason, and our consciences have to be very active in our lives, or we will get sucked into that imperial frame of mind of just do what you're told, and don't say a word, say nothing, keep your mouth shut. Well, hello, Infold once again, and welcome to you. I glad to have you with us. It is the gaslighting that causes harm to people, like R.D. Lang's concept of knots. I don't know R.D. Lang's. I I know the name. I probably read him in college or something, but I don't know what what his concept of knots was. But I do know gaslighting, and that's one of the things that it, you know it's almost such a sick thing to do that if they want to win that bad, if you really want to win bad enough to use gaslighting tactics, you know, it just shows that you are such a loser. You have nothing. You have nothing to offer. So you are going to win by playing some kind of a evil mind game on either the opponent or the public that will then be persuaded that you are bad. Like Putin, bad. Yeah. And it's all just psychological manipulation by using of, cherry picked language or innuendo or even just made up stories like the Christopher Steele story about the you know what dossier. It is sad and it is sick and it's so un-American. So I just say no. I will call it when I see it, and I will do what I can to keep pulling back the layers for all the people that really, have built the country. The people whose, heroic deeds will never be known, that swore they'd never talk about it, and and took on these incredible tasks like defusing bombs and real heroes, the ones that don't get the Medal of Honor, you know, the ones that wonderful song, the American anthem, talks about. I have to sing that again for you soon. American Anthem by Gene Shear. So much better than the war anthems and the political, you know, boastful stuff. Oh, wow, it's 9 o'clock. Well, it's been very, very pleasant to chat with you guys. Thank you for joining me and appreciate everyone who's supporting us at screamingospreys.com, where there's a Patreon button if you choose to support us. So we do appreciate everything and thank you all that have been supporting us over the past 3.5 years. Uh, it really means a lot.